time to get you caught up with some rapid reactions. It would be impossible for us to completely encapsulate the day Ukrainian President Zelenskyy had in our nation's capital yesterday, or the many far-ranging reactions to it, which ended with a rousing speech in front of our elected officials. Zelenskyy posted a video of his day in Washington and summed it up by saying he's confident that we will secure a better future for both of our nations, and that Ukraine's victory will also be America's victory. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi put out a series of reactions and photos documenting Zelenskyy's visit, saying, "We stand with Ukraine in the fight for freedom until the war is won." And capping off the series of social media posts with the rallying cry, "Slava Ukraini." Oregon Senator posted a bird's eye view of one of the many standing ovations Zelenskyy received, especially after this line that got a lot of attention.
Your money is not charity. It's an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle in the most responsible way.
Inspired Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg quoted that line and says we will continue to stand with Ukraine. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham adds it was a privilege and an honor to hear President Zelenskyy speak. And even comedian and actor Ben Stiller, he fired off a series of posts about how serious the situation is. Perhaps a fitting time to bring up the matter of respect. Some did criticize Zelenskyy for his choice of attire. He didn't show up in a suit, but then again, he is at war. And Representatives Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz got a lot of negative attention for refusing to stand for Zelenskyy. Instead, they were scrolling through their phones. All sealed with an awkward kiss between Zelenskyy and Pelosi, which was pointed out by many, including our own Betty Johnson, which has plenty of reactions as well. Rob, Allison?
Yeah. Don't forget, in Europe, it's very common to do the cheek kiss, side to side.
Almost
looked like he was going for the lips there. He was kind of trying to figure it out, and she had to come over. Yeah, it was awkward. It was awkward. Just hand the flag over, maybe a fist bump.
Yeah, I just don't think she was ready.
Here will be a turning point. I know it. The point when Ukrainian courage and American resolve must guarantee the future of our common freedom, the freedom of people who stand for their values.
Okay, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy there speaking with Congress last night. His address beginning right around 7:30 p.m. after a trip to the White House and a joint press conference with the president. This President Zelenskyy's first time outside Ukraine since the war began. What hangs in the balance now, Allison, is that $45 billion in aid. It is part of the omnibus spending package, $1.7 trillion. Does a deal get done before 12:01 p.m. tomorrow night? That's when a shutdown would begin.
We will see. And for more on yesterday's historic visit, let's welcome retired Air Force Brigadier General and Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt.
I should say AM, by the way.
Oh,
12:01 AM.
AM, yes.
AM.
General, I guess two things for you, but I want to get your reaction to Zelenskyy's speech, but also President Biden warning that if the U.S. gives advanced weapons to Ukraine, it could break up NATO. Do you agree?
Well, good morning to you both. It was quite a speech. Yeah, I understand what President Biden's trying to transmit. We should be very concerned about the types of technologies that hit that battlefield. It's a balancing act, really, because if you go to the absolute highest end that we have, you're going to potentially likely compromise our technology that gets captured on the battlefield. That's one. Two, there are certain things that we have that are certainly escalatory and back Russia into a deep, deep corner. And so we have to be very careful about what actually flows in this balance, not to protract or keep the war going. As far as the speech, I thought President Zelenskyy gave a fine speech. There was one line in that speech that I thought was a lesson for all Americans, if you can believe it. And that was when he said, "Your well-being is a product of your national security." Oh my gosh, how much could we learn from that statement alone?
Yeah.
It's the timing of all this so fascinating. We're hours away from the government possibly shutting down if this funding bill, the spending bill doesn't pass the House and Senate. And here we are with this $45 billion directly related to Ukraine's sovereignty, but we can't address the crisis at our own southern border. The language in the bill, General, the bill, quote, expressly prohibits the Border Patrol funding from being used to improve border security. I don't know how you can explain that and then give Ukraine $45 billion. Just the timing of these. On the one hand, it's one thing, and then on the other hand, it's a totally different story when it comes to our own sovereignty. General, How do you expect Russia to respond and react to this trip? Because this was news across the globe yesterday.
Right. It's already started. So Putin made, when he's talking to his defense chiefs yesterday, was talking about, we're going to be bringing in the Zircon missile. That's the hypersonic missile that is launched from the sea on a new frigate that's coming into the Black Sea. Those are missiles that can fly at about 7,000 miles per hour. They are deadly. And he's announced that's coming into the theater. He's also announced, and that's troubling, that his Satan II or Sarmat II missile system, intercontinental ballistic missile system, will be operational in about 3 weeks. We have been very dubious on that, but if that is true, that's going to be concerning as well. The problem Putin has is Medvedev's visit to China at the exact same time did not go well. The Daily Mail is reporting this morning that Xi Jinping is demanding answers from Putin about when this war is going to end and wants an apology because this is very disruptive to what China is trying to accomplish strategically. And it couldn't be better news for these wonderful kids to start having a serious moment between themselves.
Yeah, General, we have about 45 seconds left, but we don't know what happened behind the scenes yesterday, but everyone's wondering, was there any discussion about peace talks? Because Zelenskyy said the road to end the war would not involve making concessions for Russia. So to me, hearing that, it doesn't look like he wants to have any conversation.
I'm gonna bet that there were very serious talks about what potential off-ramps are there, how the Pentagon and the White House see and potential end games going. Not sure that any of that would have led to something that had fruit to it. And I'm positive that there was a lot on strategy and the left-right limits of how the Ukrainians are expected to work with U.S. combat technology.
General, just a question about the dynamic of the trip. President Zelenskyy apparently boarded the plane and left after his address to Congress last night. Is that what you're hearing as well? He didn't stay at a D.C. hotel, did he?
No, I don't believe he did. The only thing that I have heard was that they were so buttoned up on how that travel plan is going to be. This is very, very risky to travel outside of a war-torn country when you're the leader. The return is the most dangerous because then the Russians are cued to, oh, he's going to try to come back. What would we do? It's telling to us if the Russians can't mount any type of big event upon his return, just how much trouble they're in. And I think we see some of that trouble developing up around the Belarusian border where they are not so excited about a potential northern offensive into Ukraine.
Yeah, I guess we were sort of expecting maybe Russia would take advantage of Zelenskyy not being in Ukraine in some way. This happened all the time during the Second World War, when Churchill would travel to Canada to meet with Roosevelt or the United States, the Nazis would try and exploit that and take advantage of that in some way. It doesn't seem like it happened yesterday. Just a quick question, General, about the gift that Zelenskyy got before he even landed in Washington. According to Politico, the U.S. announced that Patriot missiles would be sent to Ukraine, and that announcement was made before Zelenskyy touched down. Good news for President Zelenskyy. What'd you make of the timing?
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to show that D.C. was very open and embracing of the Ukrainian people and Zelenskyy as he's arriving. The Patriot has been coordinated for a long time, but there's a lot to this. It's a very complicated system, 90 people required. Where's it going to be used? It's not, and I've heard several times people say that's an offensive weapon. No, it's a defensive weapon. It's quite good, but how will it stand up to the drones? It didn't do so well in Saudi Arabia in a couple of instances. So we're going to have to be very watchful about how we deploy it. If we're going to use American advisors on the ground, I would highly recommend to defense officials in the White House, you really do need to come to tell that to the American people and let us know why that's required.
Great point.
General, Allison and I are so curious. What's the temperature in Idaho right now?
Are you cold?
Well, we've had a balmy -14 overnight, but it really feels like -30. And right now,
that's the feels like, General. Right.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, well, stay warm. We're glad you're inside.
Yeah,
Don't go
we'll pick this back up a little bit later this morning, General.
No outside interviews.
No. You may want to show us what it looks like, though. But all right, General, we'll see you again